I think we can start. It's almost reaching 50 attendees. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Monroe Consulting Group Masterclass event, Survive and Reset, where we focus on the consumer goods industry. Let me introduce myself. I'm your host, Nabila Lulai, the marketing manager at Monroe Consulting Group. For those who are new to our event, welcome, and I hope you will find this session informative and insightful. For those who have attended our previous event, I hope you stay tuned again because it will be as better, if not greater, compared to our previous event in the past. We have an amazing panelist with us. So without further ado, let me go through the event rundown with you. We will have a quick about Monroe Consulting Group, who we are as a company, and then I will hand over to my colleague, Monica, who will be the moderator of this event. And then afterwards, we will have 4 speakers who will be sharing with us their material and insight on the consumer good industry. And then afterwards, we will have a Q&A segment. A quick webinar rule, you are on mute by default, so the speakers will be speaking during the webinar. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand or send a chat during the Q&A chat box where you can ask to be unmuted. Use the Q&A chat to ask questions during the Q&A segment. All speakers will take your questions after the discussion. This webinar is recorded and we will be sharing the link with you soon. A quick overview about who we are as a business. Monroe Consulting Group is an executive recruitment company that focuses on the emerging market recruitment in Asia. We specialize in 5 sectors: health, consumer good, industrial, technology, and professional. We have 15 years of recruitment in Asia, and we are also part of a bigger group called Empresaria Group PLC, which is a UK-based global specialized staffing group that operates in 20 countries across 6 diverse sectors. And now, without further ado, I will hand over to Monica, who is the Managing Director at Monroe Consulting Group Philippines. Over to you, Monica.
Thank you, Nabila, and thank you everyone, first of all, for joining us today in this great masterclass, Survive and Reset. I want to thank the participants for being here, but I also especially want to thank the amazing speakers that we have lined up for you today, and I will be introducing later on. Allow me to explain a little bit this masterclass first and what is it all about. Masterclass today is Survive and Reset. It is focused on the consumer goods industry. And actually what we wanted to see today and to share with you is how the consumer behavior has rapidly changed during these unprecedented times. And with these changes, it has also reshaped the consumer goods industry. And many companies had to quickly adapt and reset their strategies to adapt to the market nowadays. Right now, as we prepare for the recovery, some of these new strategies have been already success stories, and we will be seeing this today. We want to see the steps that we're taking. We also want to see what will be the next steps that we will be taking in the consumer goods industry as the consumer behaviors continue to evolve. Some of the topics that we will see today is consumer behavior trends, Philippines consumer market overview and outlook, and new strategies and opportunities, and also we want to see the recruitment landscape, how the talent has also adapted to these unprecedented times. As I said, we have lined up really experts, leading experts in the field in consumer goods from FMCG, from retail, and from hospitality that are very kind to be here with us today and share their expertise and knowledge with us. So without further ado, I want to introduce you already to our first speaker today. His name is Allan Domingo. He is the country head at Kellogg's. And just to share a little bit about Allan, Allan has more than 15 years of experience in sales and marketing across multiple categories in FMCG. He has successfully managed brands like Lucky Me, Mondi, Johnny Walker, Snickers, M&M's, Whiskas, Pedigree, and Emberg. And he is now the country head of 2 globally renowned brands, Kellogg's and Pringles. Allan has reshaped or transformed the business in the last 3 years, and even has been awarded an internal award as Transformational Market of the Year 2020. It is an absolute pleasure to have Allan with us today. Hi, Allan. How are you?
Hi, thanks, Monica, for that wonderful introduction.
And now the floor is all yours, Allan. So go ahead.
Hey, again, thanks, Monica, and thanks to the whole Monroe team for inviting me to this event, first and foremost. And thanks to everyone who are in this call. I think a number of my friends and family members are also here. So a big hi and hello to all of you. Just to quickly, quick disclaimer, I'm in no means, by no means an expert, but what I'll try to do today is really share to you, real life experiences and applications on how we won despite a challenging year and are still, winning in the midst of this new year 2021. So quick recap of what happened. In a nutshell, COVID-19 is definitely the worst, and disaster or economic disaster that our country has ever faced in recent history. And it's definitely worse than the Asian crisis in '97 and the financial crisis in 2007. And among our Southeast Asian neighboring countries, Philippines is definitely the worst hit country in 2020. Next slide, please. I think despite all of that, especially this year and more so towards the end of or the second half of this year, there's a lot of indications that consumer confidence is really building up or improving. Obviously, very much related to how the current situation of the vaccination improves, countries and different economies opening up, and how consumers would respond to increase in spends and really their willingness to go out and spend either through shopping or through leisure. Next slide, please. Now, I think I have about 7-8 minutes left. It's quite tough, obviously. But what I'll try to do in the next 7 to 8 minutes is just share to you what we've done. I've done as the head of Kellogg's to really lead our business and win in a challenging year. And these are 3 of those key strategies that we really employed and we are still employing at the moment to successfully weather this big storm that we have in our hands. One is winning where the shoppers are. The second one is creating customized value for money propositions. And the keyword here, which I'll be discussing here, is customized. And the third one is one of the most important, I think, things that we really made up is to really commit to pandemic-fueled innovations. Next slide. So win where the shoppers are. This strategy pretty much talks about availability. And when I say availability, I'm not just talking about physical availability, but also mental availability. Now let's discuss the offline environment first. Right now, what's happening really is that proximity grocery shopping is now the new norm for most consumers. A lot of them are not really they don't have that much courage yet to go out and buy from their normal sources of groceries. So what they try to do is focus on nearby smaller format stores. So it's very important for brands to really first and foremost be there and increase their presence and visibility there, and which is why the second point is very important. The reality is nowadays consumers have less and less time to spend in the supermarket environment, which means brands should maximize that shorter time period. The first moment of truth is now really shorter. So it's very important that merchandising in store is not only impactful, but also very straightforward or very easy for consumers to understand. And the reality is, as much as the online environment is growing in exponential ways, that supermarkets will remain to be a dominant force and really a very important place for brands to win. Next slide. Now, talking about online, an obvious must-have right now is really the omni-channel availability, and it's an omnipresent necessity at this point. But it's not just about availability. It's really all about how you can win in that platform. And one of those key things that we have to remember as brand owners is how we can win the online shelf. And there are a lot of ways to do so, but one of our focus areas is to really win within the search area or the search button, and obviously across different platforms of promotion. And this is very focused on e-commerce. You could brands could also consider tapping this new social media based distribution channels. And one of the interesting examples here is how my previous company Mondmisen is activated their distribution or extended their distribution reach within communities, as well as this example from a brand called Sola. So interesting trend that we can watch and maximize for sure. Next slide. Number 2 is creating customized value for many propositions. And as mentioned in the earlier slide, the keyword here is customized. And what we've done as a brand and what I'll be sharing to you on this slide is how we've maximized the surge of in-home consumption, which is very obvious nowadays that consumers are really spending most of their time at home, either working or spending time with the family or taking care of their kids. And the reality is specifically to ready-to-eat cereals. This category is still a developing category for a country like Philippines and most of Southeast Asia. Unlike our other more developed markets, cereals is not really a staple part of the breakfast platform of most Filipinos. So what we try to do is, make it easier for consumers to access and really consume conveniently our products by partnering with milk brands. And therefore, we created solutions for them in how we could help them, look for ways on how they could reward themselves and make them feel better. And speaking about rewarding and feeling better, what better brand to do that but Pringles? And this is actually a program that we are rolling out this year with Coke. And one of those trends for sure that really grew in a big way since last year is gaming. And gaming in the Philippines is actually very big. And this is something that as a platform and as a brand, we're trying to maximize. And because of that, we created this, what we call an Action Night Bundle. So watch out for this in your nearby supermarket soon. So what I'm trying to say is right now, brands have all the opportunity to maximize either a pre-existing consumption occasion like breakfast, or create new and relevant ones like what we did for Pringles, which is gaming or movie nights or whatever you have that's relevant for your brands. Next slide, please. Okay, the third and last strategy that we really committed to last year and even up to this year is really how we could find ways to truly connect with our consumers. Obviously, very much relevant to our situation now, which is the pandemic and how people are looking for ways to really strengthen their immunity, improve their health, and vaccination is one of those key things that we're all longing for. But the reality is it doesn't stop or end there. And especially in this pandemic, what we've all learned pretty quickly is that health and our nutrition is very important to everyone. So sharing a very real life example of one of our newer products actually is fruit cornflakes. So it comes in two very colorful flavors, strawberry and banana. And when we launched fruit cornflakes, we didn't have this vitamin C call out on the pack. And in fact, we didn't have this on any of our other packs. It's already embedded in the product. So what we try to do is just highlight that in front of the pack. And a clear call out that we did was calling out the vitamin C component of it being equivalent to actually one serving of fruit. And the key insight there is really how vitamin C is perceived by consumers as an essential nutrient in increasing immunity, especially for Filipinos. This is very, very relevant. So not only in front of the pack, but in the back of the pack, it says a lot of very specific communications on how our products could help consumers increase their level of immunity with the vitamin C component. Some of the examples below are also very interesting. Scott's is also obviously a very relevant brand when it comes to immunity, and this is why they're harping this in a good way in the way that they promote their products. And very interesting is this mineral water called Kangen. This is actually an example from Africa. It's quite interesting because they're selling water as a main source of immunity or one of the sources of immunity. Okay, let me just wrap up. I hope I was able to share some very real life strategies to you guys. And at the end of the day, these are not rocket science strategies. These are very much real life strategies that you can apply to your own brands or businesses. And at the end of the day, next slide. I believe that adaptability is really a mindset, and why I call it a mindset is because I believe that it's really less of an action and really more of how we make up our minds and commit to not just coping, right? It's this author puts it in a great way. Adaptability is about the powerful difference between adapting to cope and adapting to win. And I think what we've done and what I'm still doing at the moment is really making up my mind since day one to really adapt to win. And that's why, to me, adaptability is at the end of the day a mindset that we should all have, and that's that adapting to win. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Allan. What a nice sentence or powerful sentence to wrap up your section. Thank you very much. Now I would like to introduce you all to the second speaker today. His name is Adrian Eusebio. Adrian is the country director at Royal Canin. Adrian has been a highly successful leader with extensive experience in general management, marketing, business development, and multi-country experience as well. He has managed successfully brands like Selecta, Palmolive, Colgate, and Hershey's Chocolate. He is now the country director of the world's biggest pet brand, Royal Canin. And it is again a pleasure also to have Adrian with us. Hi, Adrian.
Hi, Monica. Thank you for having me.
All right. So, Adrian, the floor is yours. Whenever you want, you can start.
All right. So, good afternoon, everyone. Similar to what Allan shared a while ago, the impact COVID has had on us was both unexpected and obviously hard-hitting. With lockdowns, safety concerns all around, consumers have been forced to reevaluate their priorities, focusing on what they deem as essential and letting go of many nice-to-haves, which, some time back, everyone considered things that they could not live without. So the country's ability to take care of its citizens, unemployment, the overall economy has not yet turned positive, unfortunately. A lot of challenges, yes, for sure. But the way I look at it is numerous opportunities ahead of us. And the only question is, what do we need to do in order to capitalize on these? Next slide, please. From an FMCG perspective, I'd like to keep it very simple. Companies and brands cannot expect to succeed doing the same thing that they did all the while. We need to double, to triple our efforts to pivot and ensure that we realign to the consumer's new normal. So really understanding the consumer, continuing to build relevance and strengthening our relationship with them, that will be the key to success. And to help further expound on this, next slide, please. These are my top 3 FMCG priorities that I'd like to share. So the first one being route to market or ecosystem development. The second being value creation with the consumer. And the third being sustainability. Next slide. For my first point, so we've all obviously seen how COVID has forced us to take a huge leap into digital. I mean, accelerating developments we would have seen 3 to 5 years down the road if we were in normal circumstances. We see now that we've skipped the laptop stage and are now with mobile. We see companies saying here and there, omni-channel, and it's such a buzzword, but it's simply saying, hey, let's be present online and offline. Let's make sure that we are where the consumer needs us to be, and let's be available, similar to what Allan mentioned. This change has also actually allowed for SMEs or small to medium enterprises to break barriers and start, being competitive, even against the large multinationals that are playing in different categories. This is because obviously of lower cost to start a business and the ability to create critical reach with digital. So when you look at the landscape right now, there are so many touch points where we can be present in. And the reality is, even for the biggest companies, it's simply not possible. So the first point on route to market or ecosystem development would be to understand where do we need to play, what is the consumer need that we are trying to address as a priority for our company. And a quick and easy example for this would be, next slide, please. Here on the left, you see Royal Canon's official Lazada online store. I highlight this because when you talk about pet food and Royal Canon, this is usually a brand which consumers are loyal to. We have one of the highest loyalty rates in pet food. And we know that our shoppers will buy us in bulk. They would rather not go to the grocery or go to the pet shop every period. So it's very critical for us with the big bags to make sure that we allow our clients, our partners, our customers to access us that way, and digital would be the perfect avenue for that. However, it's not all about digital. When you look to your right, you see, a common experience in Filipino households. Your mom is cooking and suddenly, I ran out of soy sauce, I'm making adobo. So what do? You go to the convenience store down the road, to the sari-sari store or the market stall and say, hey, I need to top up and let me get this product. So what am I highlighting here? As much as we've had a lot of changes with the digital landscape, let's not all just jump and say digital and forget everything. So it's still up to you to understand what the brand needs to do to be present when your consumer needs them. So whether it's online or offline, or probably a mix of both, that's the point you need to hash out and focus on that, make sure you're able to execute. Okay. For my second point, next slide, please. There. I'd like to highlight value creation with the consumer. And I stress with the consumer because previously, when you say value creation, everyone would say 360-degree plan. I mean, that's common jargon in the industry. And people would simply do an ad or 2 ads or a version of sorts and say, put it on TV, radio, print, and we're done. Blast it everywhere. But that simply has changed. Nowadays, it's all about engagement. It's all about conversation, learning who your consumers are and talking to them in a way that they would appreciate your brand, understand what you stand for, and after a while, start to build loyalty and advocacy to follow you because they believe in it. Consumers nowadays with social media, with Viber, with WhatsApp, all want to be heard, all want to have a conversation. for them to believe the brand. They don't want to be told. They don't want, just the usual selling scripts that we were used to before. One way this comes to life would be an example that we are currently doing at Royal Canin. Next slide, please. It would be our Bring My Pet to the Vet campaign. So what Royal Canin stands for, or what we say, is we want to create a better world for pets. We also say cats and dogs first. So those two statements allow us to build who we are, allow us to show our pet owners what we can contribute back, and instead of just selling a product. And how does this manifest? I think the best manifestation would be our Bring My Pet to the Vet campaign, wherein we heard from the consumers that in the Philippines, there are so many new and even old pet owners who really don't know how to take care of their pets. So this is an activity wherein some even call it CSR, but in my personal opinion, it's just doing the right kind of business. So giving back while doing the right business, to me, that's the only way to do it. It doesn't need to be a separate activity called CSR. So when we did this, our intention was to make sure that we provide an avenue for our pet owners to understand how to take care of pets. We started it in 2019 as a trial, giving 2,000 free checkups. Now it's at 24,000 free checkups. So I'm very happy to say that it's not a hardcore selling activity, but it's something that we learned our consumers would like. And when we talk to them this way, when we listen to them, guess what? Sales have been coming in. So no sales component, but still because the consumer understood that we're a brand who talks to them, who listens to them, they are reciprocating it back more than we actually have expected. So that's the second point of value creation with the consumer. And the last one would be business continuity and sustainability. So I think everyone's seen it. We're out of stock of product A, B, C, and D when you go to the supermarkets. At one point, it was alcohol, tissue paper, etc., etc. The list goes on. But when you reflect or take a step back and see what this means, you see how fragile the supply network globally, not just in the Philippines, actually is. And the recent Suez Canal issue shows us exactly that. I mean, your product would be delayed 3-4 weeks, or more than 2 months sometimes, depending on where you need the product to be, just because there was one ship blocking the canal. So imagine how fragile it is. Also, matching with that, the consumers need to see that brands are building their offering, not just to sell, but also to make sure that they contribute to a bigger cause. They contribute to an environment where the consumers can appreciate more, can live their lives more, and enjoy. So that's on the right-hand side, where you see more discussions on raw materials being sustainably sourced. You see more discussion on packaging and what are we supposed to do with it to make sure that this goes to the right place, or is at least recycled. And for those interested, and I'm a newbie to this, admittedly, you could take a look at B Corp. So it's B Corp accreditation. It's something new to me, but it's something that companies get with really good sustainability efforts given to the whole environment and not just to selling. So please take a look at that. Quick example of this would be, next slide, Adidas, wherein, as you see, their shoes are selling like hotcakes, and they've incorporated ocean plastics, which is obviously one of the biggest challenges that we have to deal with in the environment. As people appreciate this more and more, we see that the brand continues to grow, and the affinity for it does the same. I've discussed my 3 points or 3 priorities to help build the FMCG business, but I'd also like quickly to discuss 3 points on talent and how we see evolution for this. So obviously, for talent to stand out, the basics need to be there, but 3 quick points to help you stand out. One is agility amidst ambiguity. So you're definitely going to be faced with something that you haven't done before. And if all you're used to doing is the same thing and you're unable to get out of that, then you'll be in trouble in the next month, the next year or so. But if you're quick to adjust, then you have a bright future ahead of you. Second is continued development. So there are so many free courses online. I have team members who go to YouTube just to go learn Excel, just to go learn PowerPoint or something. So make use of your time wisely and invest in capability development. And the last one would be balance. As busy as we are nowadays, I do not trust anyone who will tell me that I'm only focused on work and I can do this for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. I don't think that's a recipe for success. So I definitely look at the balance that person would take to make sure that he's also able to recharge, so that when they come back, they're full of energy, ready to go again. So 3 quick tips as well for talent, and hopefully you can use this with your future endeavors. That's it from my end. I think time is up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adrian. Actually, some questions have come out that later on during the Q&A, I think that, you'll be able to answer. Thank you so much for these great insights into the sector and also talent, inclusive of talent. So next, I would like to introduce our next speaker, is Chef Cheel Gonzales. Chef Cheel is actually originally from Spain, but has been in the Philippines since 2013. He is very well known in the hospitality industry. He is actually known as the innovative chef. He has received several culinary awards, including the Asia's 50 and Asia's 100 Best Restaurants. And he is currently running and owning Gallery by Cheel together with Juan Carlo Calma. He also owns Deli by Cheel, Eni by Cheel, and Advice, the consulting brand. He has worked with some of the most well-known restaurants in the world, including Endramari, Arzak, El Bulli, El Salé de Can Roca, Nerwa Guggenheim, and Mugaritz. So he's very well known in the hospitality. Now, Chef Cheel, as we speak, is flying to Bicol because he's shooting a documentary. So he cannot be here with us live, but we managed to successfully pre-record his participation to the event. So Nabila, whenever you want, you can play the pre-recording. Thank you. Since obviously the pandemic started last year, 2020, we have seen obviously that the consumer behavior has changed a lot. And we would like to know from you what has been these main changes in consumer behavior and how these changes have affected the hospitality industry, and especially in the Philippines.
Well, definitely the F&B industry and hospitality industry is one of the most affected by the pandemic. I mean, you cannot go out. In somehow even, also in Spain, in the Philippines as well, but in general, we felt like very bad about it because they point fingers that it was our fault. The first thing in close always it was the restaurants, it was the hotels, and then making understand to the society that the reason of the pandemic or this increasing cases could be also related to go to restaurants. I think in general that it was in the back of the mind. When the time comes, actually, it shows that the biggest or most dangerous situation, it was actually at homes. So lately, I believe slowly, people is recovering the confidence to go out. As a humans, when we have the opportunity, for sure, we will go back to the restaurants. In my personal case, I have been very creative, and we have been really looking and things in different perspectives to really evolve, and even in my case, even create new opportunities. So actually, in the last 1.5 year pandemic, I have been able to create 2 new companies and expand in many other ways. Even some of my restaurants, we even did more revenue than before. So how can you create F&B business that will help to socialize? We all need to eat, no matter what. So having these, basic ideas, how can you evolve your business? So for me, it was clear that because we need to socialize and because we need to eat, going out might be more exclusive. For many, for more special occasions, because it's at risk. But if you do follow the protocols, if you go to a restaurant that is safe, then you can do it. But of course, maybe if I go every day, every 2 days out, maybe now I do it once every 2 weeks. When my mind really need this, freedom, to get out of this very depressive situation we were living. So having that, we start to build ourselves in that direction. First, we started with a delivery menu. Gallery by Cheel is a very special place where we have a very unique personality, and we were adjusted to the Philippines where we are. So it's something in between fine dining and casual dining. Right now, things haven't changed also, and people is looking for a more fine and exclusive experience and unique experience, and they don't mind to pay a little bit more, and they don't mind to drink, a lot of wines, and have an amazing time because they need, these good times, this good experience, this journey too. So we started with the delivery with food that it was more gallery, more finance, but it's very difficult to delivery. Even it was QR codes with instructions how to cook it. The Filipino market didn't want it. They wanted, more my traditional home Spanish cooking, and it was very successful. That it was the first step. Second step, build the trust and confidence through private dining. We didn't make money at all. We just, we have different rooms in the restaurant. A room that before it was for 30 people, sometimes we open for 4 people. But it was clear to me that, this is the way that people will start to go out. They might don't see anybody else around them. Then when we start to get more busy, okay, do you mind to, the big rooms? We still have small rooms for maybe couples or small groups, but for the bigger rooms, do you mind to share the room with another table? It will be like 2 or 3 meters apart to you. And then some of them start to say yes. And from there, we create this confidence. The place always based, in safety and follow, all the COVID protocols. People feel very comfortable, very safe here, and they felt that it was an experience. The word of mouth made the rest, and to the point that before this third wave, that it was really bad, we were doing every day fully booked and very well.
Obviously, you're sharing a lot of success stories. I would like to know, Cheel, how do you see the outlook of the hospitality industry? Do you think that some of these strategies or new offer will remain or will prevail in the future? What do you see in the near future happening in the hospitality industry as well?
It's telling me this is not yet end. Something still will happen. Maybe the vaccine will not work for that longest time, or maybe new variants. I don't know. I just have really a red flag inside me. I see this voice. I'm very intuitive person. I always follow my intuition, my voice inside me, and I still say this is not yet finished. But probably we might also need to adjust very fast. Because if we began to the normality that we used to have before, that is also dangerous. We need to think that we were living in a very unsustainable way, and that also may probably become in the situation that we have right now. So, if in somehow we go, and humans, we tend to go to one side of the coin to the other side of the coin. We usually, might be an explosion in the F&B hospitality. Everybody wants to go out. Everybody wants to travel. It will take few time, to get the trust that maybe I travel and a new wave happen. But probably maybe in 1 to 2 years, if this is happening, maybe you flip it out the other kind of the coin, and then we will need to adjust again, because whatever is working right now maybe is exactly the opposite of what the market wants. Okay, so we need to be very open, analyzing, and try to always take one step in the actions of the customer behavior.
Going a little bit to talent, to the employees or the candidates that work or want to work in the hospitality industry, I would like to know, first of all, what happened to them, and also what skills do you really think that these professionals in the hospitality industry need to be able to be successful in hospitality?
A skill I will look at, it will be someone who is very open-minded and very adjustable. So someone who is not, sitting maybe in the experience that sometimes they can have, based in, someone who can adjust easy to the situation, because that is what we're going to face. Yes or yes. Try to don't see that reality and try to say, oh, this is past, or I have now the formula. No, sorry, it's no formula. So you need someone who really can come up with ideas, mostly creative. But first, I will put, someone who can adjust and adjust fast, to have, the personality, the skills, and sometimes a skill can be built, but that it will learn through the process of what the company or the business need at this particular moment. Also, people who can take actions. If we learn with COVID that if we stay in one situation that we overanalyze with not taking actions, then we can die, because we cannot, make the business survive. So I think people who can understand the situation and can take actions, decisions, quite fast, having the consideration that they can be a strategy. Because if we take decisions with not a final strategy, for me it was clear since the beginning that I have a strategy. I also built new business that is, for example, online. It's called Deli by Cheel, and it's very successful. You ask me, I hate, buy online, but this is what's happening, and this is what I need to adjust. I need to learn. So people who is also willing to learn. Okay, it's not about what you like. It's about what needs to be done.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Chef Cheel. It has been indeed very insightful. We want to congratulate also your group for the success, Gallery by Cheel and all the team. And thank you again for participating in the masterclass with us. We are very happy to have you here, Cheel. All right. So that was Cheel's contribution, and I would like to introduce you now to our fourth and last speaker of the day. His name is Buenaflor, and he is the C3PO at Ellana Cosmetics. Jay has more than 20 years of career in marketing, general management, and management consulting for various industries. He has not only worked in Philippines, but also in US and Spain. He is now the C3PO, People, Purpose, and Passion Chief Officer of Ellana Mineral Cosmetics, which is a very well-known beauty and health brand in the Philippines. I think People, Purpose, and Passion really defines Jay leadership. Hi, Jay. How are you?
Hi. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
All right. So Jay, take it off. The floor is yours.
Yeah. First, I've got to tell Allan. I have my cereal here, my Frosties. Really enjoyed it. So thank you very much. First of all, let's do this. Bad news, good news. I want to ask you, Monica, which one first? Good news or the bad news first?
Always the bad news first.
Bad news. All right. Okay, here we go. So bad news is I doubt we'll all survive this. Really, some businesses have not survived. Now, the good news is it's only a 10-minute presentation. So, So here we go. So these are actual photos I took last year when I went around. So, clearly the bad news is not over. Bad news is with no clear path yet out of this. The longer this thing drags on, the lockdown, and a still untamed pandemic that is affecting the way we do business, how people buy, how we move freely. The result, people have been laid off, salaries reduced, salaries and bonuses deferred. People have gained weight. That's just all me. I'll spare you the numbers and graphs. I think my fellow panelists have done on presenting numbers. But what I really want to show, next slide please, is what really matters. What I'll be talking about today is the human aspect, the heart, the soul, the flesh, the mind of things. Okay. So that's what I wanted to talk about. So the things I do for the company, I just want to share, include, number one, looking for the right people, the cultural and character aspects. Will they be able to thrive and feel fulfilled in a 24/7 work-life blended environment, work-life e-commerce environment? I joke that I dissuade more than I recruit people. It's a half joke. Number two, I motivate them to become the best they can be, reaching a level of self-actualization, self-realization. Number three, I try and boost everyone's morale. This one becoming extremely, extremely difficult these days. So on a personal level, it's been extremely challenging. The aforementioned financial challenges that has affected all of us in the company. People's morale have been hit as a result of this. And just the general malaise, right? The languishing many of us are experiencing, of being in such a, fearful, unpredictable state. So let's do this. Those who are feeling that blah, please join me, Nabila, Monica, and give ourselves a grrr. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Grrr. So let's rewind a bit. So when the pandemic hit, 70% of our business, the retail brick and mortar part of it, got hit. Now, fortunately, 30% of our business was e-commerce. That will play a role, a God-given role. I'll share later. So for now, a year on, our business is still affected. I can go on a 3-hour rant, but I've only been given 2 hours to give this talk. So resources are tight for homegrown non-MNC retail enterprise. While developed nations can expect support for business and employees, here, forget about it. While some parts of the world are opening up, us, forget about it. So that's why we've had to pivot. It's listening to Allan, Adrian, and Cheel. I'm seeing a theme here that we didn't discuss, but I'm seeing a theme, and that's why one thing I want to share is we've had to pivot. A silver lining, perhaps, because of the pandemic, a number of people we know, friends and family, had to go into e-commerce. Talking about e-commerce, because of our knowledge, they reached out. So in October of last year, we actually started another company. It's called Vivanti Advantage. So as an e-commerce enabler, we take over your e-commerce, the marketing, the sales, the merchandising, fulfillment, logistics, customer service, etc., etc. So as of today, we have about 20 brands that we run. So lesson number one in this pandemic world, have faith. You're not alone. You're being guided. So now I'm a C3PO for not just one company, but 2 or possibly more. So yes, things are still fluid as I speak. Don't know yet what's really going to happen. So lesson number 2, in this pandemic world, it's very unpredictable. Act like it is. Which brings me to lesson number 3. Things are more challenging. It's not for everyone. It's been painful to let go of people. There's a human toll to this. An outcome is we've people quadruple hatting right now. It's not for everyone. We've had to pay less and ask for more. We've had people leave. We truly understand. Like I said, it's not for everyone. So I want to share this from a list we came up with 2 years ago for people wanting to join us. And it's even more apt now. Next slide, please. So we ask that each person who joins us should have above average emotional intelligence. Next slide, please. You must be open, humble enough to accept a different way of thinking and doing things. Next slide, please. You have to have empathy. Next slide, please. Be adaptable. Next slide. Be agile. Again, we were just talking about this. Being adaptable, being agile. Next slide, please. To be highly collaborative. Next, be coachable. Next is have a growth mindset. Next is be comfortable working in a very close family-like environment. Next is be okay with responding to questions on weekends and at night. And the kicker, the last one, are you okay with being part of 50 Facebook Messenger chat groups? Phew, right? So next slide, please. So why am I really here? I used to half joke that only 4% of Filipinos are qualified to join us. Now, because of this new world that we're in, I say that it's about 1%. This pandemic has exposed people for who they really are. So a key to survive is learn to unlearn so you can relearn. I love what Cheel was saying. I don't like e-commerce, but I gotta learn it. Cheel, maybe you want to join us? So, we can do the whole Darwin quote here about, the species that survives is the one that is best to adapt and adjust to the changing environment, blah, blah, blah. We all know this. But I'd rather talk about the real reason why I've said yes to this talk. It's a changed world that's asking us to adapt. I'm here because we have to hire a number of people for our enabler business, and all I want is a discount from Monroe. That's why I'm here to ask for a discount. But seriously, I say that the most important part in a startup is your talent acquisition. It's the people that you'll start with is who that will make or break you. It's been said that the first 50 are the most crucial. They're your culture warriors. So that's my call to action. Look for the right people. Take care of them. They need the love and care. So, Monica, do I get my discount now?
We can definitely talk about it. Jay, it was an amazing presentation. Thank you so much. Very energetic. I love that, especially if you are the fourth speaker. We need definitely the energy. Thank you so much. We still have a few minutes actually for Q&A. So I would love to give chance to all the participants that have joined us and to be able to have a few answers to their questions. And so I'm just gonna ask the question and then I'm gonna ask the speaker that wants to respond just to raise the hand. And the first question would be, I think maybe for Allan and Adrian, we had a couple of questions asking what will happen to shops, to stores. I guess that they are wondering if this will disappear or what will be the biggest transformation in the future. Who would like to go first?
Yeah, can I take that?
Absolutely.
Sure. No, I think I mentioned it in one of my slides. At the end of the day, as much as online e-com is growing and growing exponentially, the brick and mortar is here to stay, especially in the supermarket environment. So people at the end of the day, especially Filipinos, I think, are very much touch and go. They really want to connect with the products that they want to buy. So they would like to look at it, feel it, obviously check prices and look for savings. But brick and mortar is here to stay.
Thank you, Allan. And a little bit in line with this, it's a very generic question actually. How do you think will consumer goods sector stay relevant to consumers? I think you have all mentioned adaptability. I don't know if someone would like to take this question.
I can take that one.
Yes,
for me, I think, as I mentioned a while ago, you stay relevant by having a conversation with the consumers, really understanding them, being focused on how you approach them, and try to remove that that want to focus on what your internal objectives. Focus on what they want, and you see everything will come back. So I think the companies that will thrive, the brands that will succeed, are the ones who listen the most, and it's as simple as that.
Thank you, Adrian. I think maybe Jay, you could answer this one because you mentioned something similar. Do you see a consumer shift to demand products that are nationally produced rather than internationally produced?
You know, great question, Monica. Right. Okay. I'm forming all of these things in my mind because I'm excited about this question. I mean, that is part of why we really wanted to put up this this enabler, was we wanted to help resource challenged Filipino companies make it in e-commerce. You know, right now it retail will return. Correct. Agree. And we are waiting. We are praying. And that will happen for all these brands. But a great low barrier entry is e-commerce. But the challenge is, if you are, again, you know, a Filipino company, it's not a very, the Philippines does not have a very strong investor entrepreneurial environment. So what we are trying to do is help you with our backing to make it online. And so hopefully we are really looking for Filipino brands to help grow. So yeah, we're excited about that. Will it take a while? Will it be challenging? Yes, but we're gonna work on it.
Would you like to add anything, Adrian, since you talk about distribution a little bit, or Allan?
Sorry, I was on mute. I think there will be a good mix of both. I mean, definitely when I look at Filipino landscape, there are a lot of good products. It will depend on the industry and how much investment is needed to create a value, you know, a really high value product, because I think that's one of the challenges also with the Philippine environment. We haven't been as used to compared to our neighbors with coming up with their own products, you know, compared to even Southeast Asia, our immediate neighbors. So if we could slightly improve on that, it would make a lot of difference for local brands.
Thank you, Adrian. I would like to ask a little bit. I'm interested in some questions that obviously are related to talent and recruitment. As you know, I'm passionate about that. I run the business. We have a few questions here. We have one question that says, which talents will be in demand after the pandemic? Will the hiring needs change after the pandemic? Who would like to, who dares to, to envision what will happen with talent in the future? Jay, okay, go
Can
ahead.
I jump in first, guys? Hope you don't mind, Allan and Adrian, just real quick jump in. I mean, I think even after the pandemic, it's e-commerce. Just, you know, I was just telling my wife the other day, I mean, there's no e-commerce 101 in school, in universities. You know, I told her, if, you know, while we're driving here, we're in the province right now, and I said, you know, if you see a billboard that says, you know, a school is offering e-commerce 101, I'll give you 50 pesos every time you see it, because we just don't. So in fact, part of what we want to do in the company is have Vivanti University. It's really, you know, come in and train them to grow into e-commerce. So I think it's now or after the pandemic, it's e-commerce, e-commerce talent. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
Allan, I think that you also wanted to add something. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was on mute. No, I think obviously, e-commerce is here and it's going to grow. But apart from e-commerce, I believe that especially after this pandemic, a lot of brands are going to be hungry for, innovations, new launches, and new ways of how to connect with consumers in store and in the regular retail environment. So, sales positions will definitely come up. But more than that, I think a lot of marketing and local marketing opportunities will come up. And it's because of this need for brands to talk to consumers right after the pandemic.
Thank you so much, Allan. I am afraid that we are running out of time, and I am very conscious of your time, but we have a few more questions, actually. Can I go with one more? Yes, thank you, speakers. What tips would you give to small and medium entrepreneurs as we see that the progress of COVID is slower than expected? Any advice for the entrepreneurs?
I can start, I suppose.
Go ahead.
For me, it's focus. At this point, it's too enticing to try and dip your finger into different parts of business where you think you can grow. But stop yourself from doing that. If you're good at something, or you're able to identify one need that you really think, okay, I can develop this, just do that. Do that for the next 3, the next 5 years, and you'll be surprised. I mean, I've had the pleasure of working with more established companies like Unilever, but at the same time, younger ones like Royal Canin, where I work now. And it's really the ability to focus that's allowed us to continue to grow and not to try to be everything, but just say, we're going to stand for this and we're going to be good at it. So I hope you choose your battle wisely and hammer it for the next few months and years. You'll be good.
Thank you so much, Adrian. And I believe with that, we will finalize the masterclass today. So again, special thanks to Allan. Thank you so much for participating in the event. Adrian, thank you so much for being here with us. Jay, amazing contribution. Thank you so much for your time, expertise, and knowledge. And thank you to all participants as well. We will have more masterclasses coming, so stay tuned